The fall of Chancellor Brüning and the rise of Hitler. How did the collapse of one government in the spring of 1932 open the door to one of the darkest chapters in human history? On April 13, 1932, in the fragile democracy of Weimar Germany, President Paul von Hindenburg signed a decree banning Adolf Hitler's Sturmabteilung, the SA, the Nazi Party's feared paramilitary force. To many, it seemed like the state was finally pushing back, but beneath the surface, Germany was already slipping out of control. At the center of this storm stood Heinrich Brüning, Chancellor of Germany since 1930, a man ruling without a parliamentary majority, a man governing by emergency decree, a man desperately trying to save a collapsing republic while unknowingly paving the way for its destruction. Between April and June 1932, Germany reached a breaking point. What followed would end Brüning's chancellorship and accelerate Adolf Hitler's path to power. By 1932, Germany was in freefall. The Great Depression had crushed the nation with merciless force. More than 6 million Germans were unemployed. Nearly 1 in 3 workers. Factories stood silent. Bread lines stretched through city streets. Savings vanished overnight. Chancellor Heinrich Brüning, leader of the Center Party, believed only one path remained: austerity. Brüning cut wages. He reduced unemployment benefits. He raised taxes, and he slashed government spending. His logic was cold but calculated. Germany, still burdened by World War I reparations, needed to prove economic discipline to foreign creditors, especially France, Britain, and the United States. But for ordinary Germans, Brüning's policies meant hunger, humiliation, and despair. To many, democracy itself seemed responsible for their suffering. Meanwhile, extremist movements flourished. On the left, the Communist Party of Germany, KPD, promised revolution. On the right, Adolf Hitler's National Socialist German Workers' Party, NASDP, promised order, revenge, and national rebirth. In the July 1932 Reichstag elections, the Nazis would soon become the largest party in Germany. But even before that, their paramilitary wing, the SA, over 400,000 men strong, dominated the streets. Street battles between the SA, communist militias, and police erupted daily in Berlin, Hamburg, and the Ruhr. Germany was no longer governed solely from parliament. It was being contested in the streets. Brüning's authority rested not on votes, but on Article 48 of the Weimar Constitution, emergency powers granted by President Hindenburg, a dangerous precedent and one that would soon be turned against him. By April 1932, Brüning faced enemies on all sides. The Reichstag was paralyzed. The Nazis despised him. The communists rejected him. Conservative elites blamed him for economic collapse. On April 10, 1932, Germany held a presidential runoff election. 84-year-old Paul von Hindenburg defeated Adolf Hitler, but barely. Hitler received over 13 million votes. It was a warning. The Nazis were no longer a fringe movement. They were a mass political force. Just 3 days later, on April 13th, Brüning convinced Hindenburg to ban the SA and SS nationwide. The decree cited threats to public security and state authority. For a brief moment, violence declined, but conservative power brokers were furious. Among them was General Kurt von Schleicher, a key figure in the German army and a political intriguer operating behind closed doors. Schleicher believed Brüning was finished. The army feared civil war. Industrialists feared socialism. Landowners feared agrarian reform, and Brüning had angered them all. Worst of all, Brüning proposed a radical solution: breaking up large Junker estates in eastern Germany to resettle unemployed workers. For the Prussian aristocracy, Hindenburg's own class, this was unforgivable. Behind the scenes, Schleicher began whispering into the president's ear. He argued that Brüning had lost the nation, that Germany needed a national concentration government, one that could bring the Nazis inside the system and control them. Little did they know they were preparing the very conditions Hitler needed to seize power. By May 1932, Brüning's position was collapsing. Hindenburg refused to sign new emergency decrees. Cabinet meetings became hostile. Army leaders withdrew support. At the same time, the Nazi Party prepared for power.
Propaganda reached a fever pitch. Posters covered city walls. Loudspeakers blared Hitler's speeches. Uniformed SA men marched openly, despite the ban. The message was simple. Democracy had failed. Brüning had failed. Only Hitler could restore Germany's honor. By May 25th, Schleicher had effectively isolated the Chancellor. Brüning sensed the end was near, yet he continued to believe that constitutional order could still be preserved, that legality would triumph over extremism. He was wrong. On May 30, 1932, after a tense meeting at the presidential palace, Hindenburg withdrew his support. Brüning was ordered to resign. In silence, Heinrich Brüning left office. No crowds, no ceremony, only the quiet collapse of Germany's last democratic firewall. The fall of Brüning triggered immediate consequences. Within days, Franz von Papen, a conservative aristocrat with virtually no parliamentary support, was appointed chancellor. Papen's government ruled almost entirely by decree. He dismantled democratic safeguards with alarming speed. On June 4, 1932, the Reichstag was dissolved. New elections were called. Then came the fatal decision. On June 16, 1932, Papen lifted the ban on the SA and SS. Overnight, Nazi paramilitaries flooded the streets again. Violence exploded. In just 6 weeks, more than 90 political killings were recorded. Hundreds more were wounded. Police were overwhelmed. Local governments lost control. Fear gripped the population. By July 1932, Germany stood on the edge of civil war. The Nazis promised order while creating chaos. The communists prepared for revolution. The army waited. Ordinary Germans watched democracy unravel before their eyes. What made this moment so dangerous was not just Nazi strength, but elite miscalculation. Conservative leaders believed Hitler could be controlled, used, neutralized. They underestimated his ambition. They misunderstood his movement. The Weimar Republic had entered its terminal phase. Brüning's fall marked a decisive turning point. Without him, there was no longer any serious effort to defend parliamentary democracy. The machinery of the state, the presidency, the army, the bureaucracy, began shifting rightward. In the July 31, 1932 elections, the Nazis won 230 seats, becoming the largest party in the Reichstag. Hitler demanded the chancellorship. He was refused, for now, but the damage was irreversible. Brüning's removal had taught Hitler a critical lesson. Power would not come through compromise, but through pressure. Street violence intensified. Political paralysis deepened. Confidence in democracy evaporated. What happened next would become legendary and catastrophic. Within 8 months, Adolf Hitler would be appointed Chancellor of Germany. The constitutional tools Brüning had used to defend the Republic would be wielded to destroy it. Heinrich Brüning survived the Nazi era in exile. He never returned to power. No medals were awarded, no ceremonies erected. History remembers him as a tragic figure, a man who tried to save democracy by suspending it. His fall cleared the path for authoritarian rule, for terror, for war. Within 7 years, Europe would be engulfed in flames. More than 60 million people would die in the Second World War. The collapse of Brüning's government reminds us that democracy does not always fall to force. Sometimes it collapses through exhaustion, fear, and compromise. The rise of Hitler was not inevitable. But in the spring of 1932, Germany took a step from which there was no easy return. This was just one of countless untold stories from the Second World War. Subscribe to World War II Records as we continue to bring these forgotten chapters of history back to life.